have you in Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. Discover's accepted at 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. Discover.com/yes. I've known Urban Meyer for a long time. And like him, smart guy, teaches me stuff about football, 3 national championships. In fact, only 3 coaches have led multiple schools to titles. Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, and Pop Warner. And if you can ever be included in a trivia question with Pop Warner as a college football coach, you know what the hell you're doing. For a lot of people probably think Pop Warner is like a mythical character. And so Urban Meyer is joining us. By the way, also played football at Cincinnati, minor leaguer for the Braves. Well, what position did you play as a baseball player? Well, let me guess. You're a big guy. You were third base.
Actually a shortstop, but played a little bit of third, but a shortstop.
Yeah. Could you hit?
That was a problem. That's why I got into football. The fastballs got real fast, and a little bit of bats with the wooden bats.
It's funny about teams now gathering information on players. You're one of the best recruiters that's ever done this. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, Urban, if you're in the NFL and you don't get the second and third and fourth interview, but I got 3 years of tape, I got the Senior Bowl, I got the Combine, how problematic could this be?
This could be very problematic, and I've never had time to really study it. I have time now, and actually have done some research on the draft and how teams acquire talent, and how do you do that? You gather information, and the NFL Combine is a great event. It's turned into an event. It's televised. They actually moved it to evening, and the drills and those type of things, but the real good organizations and real thorough general managers and scouting departments and coaches love the on-campus pro day because you're surrounded. It's like a coach going in to recruit, for example, like a St. Thomas Aquinas, St. Xavier High School. You go into that school and you meet with the secretaries, you meet with the trainers, you meet with the assistant trainer, because you need to find out about everything about this person and do they fit the criteria. Then that's where just over the years, these last year and a half, I've been really studying, and the teams that do very well in the NFL draft are the ones that really saturate their time and find out all you can about the prospect. The ones that don't, there's, believe it or not, there's some organizations out there I never really met when I was at Florida and at Ohio State, other than a scout or two, not the general manager, not the assistant general manager, and certainly not the coaching staff. And those are the ones that kind of struggle in the process.
Did you ever, when you were recruiting, I mean, you've had so many guys go to the NFL, Zeke, Michael Thomas, Cam Newton, Bosa, Ryan Shazier. I remember back in Utah, you had Eric Weddle, Alex Smith. You've had a lot of different guys, right? Did you ever, in your process, because this is about talent accumulation, did you ever go to a high school and you really liked a player, and after talking to people at the high school, you called your staff and said, we're out? He doesn't work for us. He's not. Does that happen a lot?
Certainly does. It happens quite a bit, especially, if a kid comes from a great high school program, and I know the coach, those aren't very long visits because we have a very frank conversation. But you go recruit someone from a very bad program, a very, very bad environment, and you're just not here. You're there to recruit, but you're also there to gather information. And a lot of times the assistant coaches are the ones that do the forework, the work out in front. And if we just can't find that information, I'll go myself and we'll spend time there. And I'd say, that's 25% of the time you'll walk away, especially from bad programs, and say, we're just not going to take a chance right now on this. Yeah. And so that absolutely happens.
It's funny, Urban. The draft is coming up in 3 weeks. Obviously, a kid like Ezekiel Elliott, I mean, it's pretty easy. Even I can say, yeah, it's going to work in the NFL. He can. That's a rare talent. A Lattimore, the corner for the Saints, you're just like, okay, that guy's obviously. I think the corner from Ohio State this year, I can figure that out. But environment's interesting, Urban. I'm sure you recruited people to Utah, Florida, Ohio State, where they were good high school players, and they surprised you. Did you ever have a Buckeye or a Gator that were good college players, but they went to the NFL and they were more comfortable in the NFL and the game worked more for them? And I don't imagine you got shocked a lot, but when you look at some of your Buckeyes, or Gators, do some kids' environment's more important and they go to a great organization and they flourish?
Absolutely. The name that comes to my mind is Mike Thomas. Mike Thomas, his first year, he had one catch. His second year, he really struggled in college. We redshirted him. His third year was make or break, and Keyshawn Johnson's his uncle, and he has a great father. And they really, because he didn't work real hard. He was an excuse maker, and we kind of sat him down and had a hard conversation. And I credit Keyshawn and his father for, diving in the middle. He had a great year, and then he went on to be the highest paid NFL receiver. If you'd have told us that 5-6 years ago, no chance. So I think he's in a great organization. He's got an excellent coaching staff surrounded by elite people, and he's getting better and better. And he'll be one to tell you Drew Brees is a big part of that as well. The two of them, the way they work.
Yeah.
So Mike Thomas would probably be the perfect example. He was great in college, but he's gone on to be arguably the best receiver in the National Football League.
Well, let's go back and talk about Alex Smith's career, about where he landed mattered.
Of course it is, and that's why there's a common denominator calling about a great quarterback in the NFL. He's in a great organization. You can't tell me these other quarterbacks are bad. When I hear people say that they're bad players, my head comes off my shoulder. Like, what are you talking? They're great players. They're just stuck in a bad environment, bad culture. These are great players. They're the best of the best in college. Now, maybe there'll be some personal issues that they're going through, and hopefully they don't get into some bad stuff and all that. But when I hear people say they're bad players, that's not true. They are not bad players. They might be in a bad situation. Alex Smith people told me he was going to be a bust when he went to the 49ers. The 49ers at the time were a very bad organization. They were terrible on defense, terrible on offense, and it was Alex's fault. Then he got with a guy like Andy Reid, and he flourished. So it's not the player. That's too easy to say it's a bad player.
So I know you had Joe Burrow. He transferred. So I'm going to be devil's advocate because I'm sure you like him. Okay, here's my devil's advocate. I mean, come on, Urban. He popped 1 year. He had to transfer. He wasn't very good his junior year. This is, of course he was good. LSU had the best offensive line, the best team. I mean, all these great players around it. Why did it take him so long to pop in college? Is that fair?
I think that's very fair. And I think I know teams, because I've been in a few people have reached out to me about it. And I've actually, just was back and forth with Joe last night. That's very fair. However, that's why you have to do your homework. I mean, is it a risk to take him number one? His first year, he was just okay. He was a dual sport athlete coming out of high school, was not as developed as the Dwayne Haskins coming out of high school. It took him a few years, but the one thing he's always had is incredible leadership, toughness, and a work ethic. That's what he's had. And he's a competitive maniac, like I said the other day. So, that's very fair, but I think he's going to do great in the National Football League.
Are you worried about Tua? I don't care about the ankle stuff. The hip stuff worries me. He also was throwing to the best that wide receiving core for Bama is probably better than half the NFL or more. Those are, people are worried about the hip. He's got, he's throwing the ball to 3-4 NFL guys. What do you make of the Tua thing? The hip, the players he played with that elevated him.
I was actually on 2 phone calls recently, and his name came up when they were asking my thoughts on him. And Nick Bosa blew his ACL out his senior year in high school. J.K. Dobbins broke his ankle, never played more than 1 snap his senior in high school. So you have to do your due diligence, you have to do your work, but injuries are part of the game. So I don't know the extent of his injury in his hip, but when you start saying the word hip, that is a concern. But they say he has all the intangible values. They're going to go. This really hurt teams as far as looking at a guy like Tua, because they needed that pro day to get to spend time with him, make sure he's healthy, and you're not allowed to do that. So the concern, once again, is legitimate. But like I said, Nick Bosa and J.K. Dobbins, they had really terrible injuries. We still recruited them after we did had to meet with the doctors and did all the homework on them. So, yes, it's a concern, and I just don't know the extent.
You look at college football. I'm not going to make any proclamations here. There are some signs the virus, social distancing is absolutely working. There's no question it's working in the United States. You're seeing some factors play out. And we're not doctors. I think there will be a college football season. So let's pretend there will be in September. But maybe it's abridged a little bit. How much time would you need as a college football coach to get your team ready for a season and feel the safety of the players? He's had enough hitting that you would feel good sending a 19-year-old kid out on the field and he's prepared.
Well, I've done this research with our strength coach at Ohio State many, many years. It goes all the way back to my first time as a head coach because you weren't able to work with them in the summer like you are now.
Yeah.
8 weeks is the number that it takes a group to get ready to go to training camp. 8 weeks of training. And that starts off with the baseline training, which is more distance running, all the way to sprinting and getting, ready for actual camp shape. And then, the 28 practices, 29 practices you're allowed to have. Anything less than that, you got to really start having conversations about, is it safe? And I think I'm like you. I guess I'm going to be more positive, have a positive voice out there saying we will have college football, we will have NFL football. But when you start getting around that 8-week window, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's like July. That's June, late June, early July. People forget this. It's not just practice. You need these guys tight, ready to go as they go into the summer heat and start hitting. You've been such a good broadcaster so quickly. You adapted to it. And you could absolutely coach if you wanted to at any level. There's no question about that. Coaches usually say, I kind of miss being around the guys. But you've always had kind of an intellectual bent for this game. I always wonder with you, Urban, is intellectually developing offenses, being clever and smart. I always think that's what you miss. So as honestly as you can, and I hope you stay in broadcasting forever, what part of it to you, now you're just the assistant athletic director, you're just a big suit up there with a fancy tie on. What part do you miss the most of coaching?
I missed without question the players, the development, watching a guy like Paris Campbell, to see his identifying his weaknesses and making them a strength and see it come to fruition. I miss that terribly, but I also get the experience, and now I'm still around Ohio State football and watch what Coach Day and his staff does. I'm around them, and so I miss that. But and then I do miss the other part of the execution. I go back, Dan Mullen and I had a nice conversation the other day about the evolution of the spread offense in that meeting room in Bowling Green, Ohio in 2001. That's as much fun, and we both agreed, probably coaching Utah that 2014, doing things that really had never been done.
Yeah.
That was as much fun as we've ever had.
Yeah. I remember those teams. They were beating Pac-10 teams. I think you guys beat Cal, you beat Oregon, and everybody was like, who's Urban Meyer? And I remember going on the air, I was a Portland broadcaster. I said, this dude is running an offense that nobody can figure out. And, God, what a career you've had. Urban Meyer, now the assistant athletic director at Ohio State, broadcaster for Fox College Football. Coach, good talking to you.
Always good talking to you, Colin. Take care, man.
You bet. Yeah, I remember it well. They were running this quirky stuff that nobody could figure out. Everybody was like, what? It was this weird flex thing, and the quarterback was running, and it was. I can remember it really well, sitting there watching Utah Utes football with my buddies and be like, this is hard to figure out. It was a lot of movement. The quarterback moved a lot. It was like a combination of three different offenses, one from the 70s, one from the 80s, and one that you'd never seen. It's almost like when LeBron came out. People were like, oh, he's Michael. And you're like, no, he's not Michael. Well, he's Magic. He's not really Magic. It was a little Magic and a little Michael, and then 35%. I've never seen anything like this before. That was Urban's offense. It was revolutionary. You'd never seen anything quite like it. Now it's duplicated everywhere. Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
With Tom Brady gone, second-year quarterback Jarrett Stidham could take over as the Patriots starter, and plenty of players have spoken in support of Stidham getting the job. The latest is longtime captain Matthew Slater.
He brings a lot of positive energy He's always got a smile on his face, and you can tell he's very appreciative of the opportunity that he had last year and the opportunities that he'll have going forward. So certainly he has a lot of great qualities that can make him a good player at the quarterback position. Coach Belichick and his staff wouldn't have brought him in here if they didn't think he had those qualities. But I think, at that position, almost more than any other, it's going to be the intangibles that get a guy to maybe a successful position. So, I think he's got some good traits. I think he's going to be a good player.
Devin McCourty and Stephon Gilmore have also given a lot of praise to Stidham since Brady left. Look, you never want to be the guy who replaces the guy.
Yeah, who replaced Howard Stern? Yeah, you just don't want to be the guy that replaces the guy, except Steve Young.
Right. Well, if you're the guy.
Yeah, Steve Young had an MVP year. The year before Joe Montana got hurt, Steve Young played and won the MVP. Like that. By the way, even Aaron Rodgers, as great as he is, the first year replacing Brett Favre, and that's as good as Aaron is with 3 years in the system, his first year was not great. So it's like, to replace the guy, good luck.
But the guy did just choose to leave, and you have a lot of fan equity built up in New England. Now, if he goes out there and he's a disaster, then, they brought in Brian Hoyer. I don't know what's going on in New England. I feel like they have a plan. Of course they have a plan.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it's not just some kind of egotistical situation, like I can prove I can win with Jarrett Stidham. I don't think that's it. But we just don't know what Jarrett Stidham is. Like, apparently he's a great guy.
Well, he's got a big arm. That's what the people I trust say he's got a big arm. So we'll see.
He has a big arm, and he seems to be a great locker room guy. So he has the intangibles that are needed. By the way, Brady will wear number 12 for the Bucs. Chris Godwin offered the number to him, and he's going to switch to 14. So he is going to be number 12 with the Buccaneers.
Brady is?
Yes.
And the receiver offered it.
Yes, Chris Godwin was wearing 12. He gave it to Brady, and he's going to switch to number 14.
All right, that was a nice gesture.
It continues. So, the NFL's anticipated playoff expansion has officially passed. Beginning this season, the postseason will be expanded to 14 total teams. So, the addition of one playoff team per conference was agreed to in the new CBA, but it required the approval of 3/4 of the NFL owners. So, it did get approved. So, it will add a additional playoff team in each conference. So, that means only the number one seed in the AFC and NFC will earn a postseason bye. So, that is a massive advantage to the top club in each conference each year.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty big deal. So it means that almost half of NFL teams will qualify for the postseason. 43.7% of all NFL teams will qualify for the postseason. Does
that mean more players get bonuses and playoff stuff? So
yeah, I mean they're going to make more money, but it also means that later into the season, more NFL fan bases are going to be invested and engaged because they still have an opportunity to make the playoffs. That's
always been my knock on baseball, that when your season is 162 games long, you can get to game 104 and it just feels like you're out of it. Like the shorter the season, the longer it feels. The optics are, everybody's still in it. Like unless you're really awful. Last year, I remember we kept talking about this. There were like 20 teams still in it, and it was like week 14, week 13. Right. So I love the idea. I've never had a problem with more playoff teams. If you want to get rid of boring regular seasons in all sports, you want to shorten them, I'm for it. But I'm a playoff guy. Give me postseason baseball, basketball, soccer, football. I'm all in.
Yeah, I'm for this move. I like this. I like the idea of more fan bases being able to be engaged later in the season. And to your point, only 33.3% of teams make the postseason in MLB, 51.6% in the NHL, and 53.3% in the NBA. Yeah. So again, the NFL is getting it right as far as that goes. And obviously, it's unfortunate that there's not another bye for another team, but that's just going to make teams play. That just means the regular season means more. Like you want to get that number one seed and make sure that you have the bye. So the Lakers were rolling when the NBA season came to a halt this month, and Anthony Davis hopes they can keep the momentum going when the season resumes. He told the LA Times that he and his teammates have been sending each other highlight tapes because they missed the game so much, and he said they're also finding ways to work out safely because they know the season isn't over, and they want to make sure that they pick up right where they left off. They're obviously first in the West, 49-14 before the season was suspended, and they won 11 of their last 13 games before the shutdown and clinched the playoff berth. So obviously they were in a great position, as we know, before the season was suspended. But some guys have more of an ability to work out and stay in shape than others. Like some guys live in condos and don't have courts in their house.
That's right.
You know? Like it's very difficult. I mean, even I don't do much to work out, and I'm certainly not an NBA player. But like, even for someone like me and you, like you're used to going to your fitness club every day. Like how you're working out changes, and we certainly don't have to. We don't have to perform with our bodies.
My
so
wife,
it's not a huge impact, but it does change things.
My wife turned our garage into an art studio because she paints, and I'm not gonna. I haven't told her yet, but we're going back to dumbbells and lifting because I can't. If I can't lift, I mean, this physique needs, it needs love.
You don't try yoga?
Yeah, I got to fill out this swanky golf shirt. So my wife turned the garage into an art studio, and I was all for it. But now I'm like, how long can I go without, like weights?
Right. Now imagine you're an NBA player who has no need really to have weights or, that kind of workout facility in their home because they're going to the practice facility every day and going to playing games or going to a training facility. So the idea that they're going to pick up right where they left off if the season continues, but they are doing the most that they can to stay activated, which is good.
All right. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
NFL draft is just 3 weeks away. I'm going to give you the best case scenario for all these quarterbacks that could get drafted. Jalen Hurts, Tua, Joe Burrow, Jacob Eason, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love. What is the best case scenario when you look at their talent, their deficiencies, their personalities, and where would they be a disaster? Because we know where you land largely dictates how successful you are. That is coming up. With all the uncertainty in the world, now more than ever than I can remember, feeling safe at home has never, ever been more important. That's why Simply Safe Home Security, longtime friends of the Herd, for a reason. We trust them and respect them. Comprehensive protection for your home. There is no technician or salesperson that comes and has to disrupt your life in your house. Not outrageous monthly fees or a 2 or 3 year contract. You just go to their website. It's awesome, and you order it online. You set it up under an hour. Very easy to follow directions. And then your home is protected 24/7 with emergency dispatch for fires, break-ins, and more. 50 cents a day. That is it. 50 cents a day. Right now, simplysafecolin.com, code HERD. Free shipping too. 60-day risk-free trial. 60 days, risk-free. SimplySafeColin, COLIN.com.